Right, it's the Activist Community Podcast. We just tried our first live, Facebook Live presentation, and it didn't go too well. We're going to have to do some refinements on that, but we're here live on tape with Tom Dent, host of the Activist Community Podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about activism and environment, and then Tom's got some things he'd like to say. And we'll just go from there. Tom, how are you?
Hi, Lloyd. How you doing?
I'm doing.
Yeah, we tried.
Doing okay.
Yeah, we tried really hard to get something going on Facebook, but there's too much feedback and delay and all sorts of things. I guess Mark Zuckerberg is listening in and censoring anything that we might want to say. But Lloyd, it's a beautiful day in New Mexico, and it's almost 3 o'clock on Friday, the 18th. So how are you today?
You know, I'm doing okay. I do have some respiratory issues that are kind of flared up due to the constant smoke and particulate matter. But other than that, doing good.
Yeah, I see you've been monitoring the air quality index. Well, one good thing about New Mexico is we can breathe a lot better than California or Washington or Oregon right now.
No, they have a disastrous public health crisis there. There's going to be so many people with respiratory issues that are going to come up here over the next few years.
Yeah, but if the states can manage the federal forests and rake the leaves, then we wouldn't have any problem.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, what did they say? What 10 to 30% of the forests are state land, the rest are federal lands. So most of the help and the management is basically the Fed's concern. But they keep shifting blame and throwing everything back on the state like they did with the coronavirus management and emergency response.
Right. It's always somebody else's fault when you're doing a bad job.
Yeah, well, if occupants are being in the White House acting like Nazis that are only in there to steal as much money as they can from the American public and not give a rat's ass about who lives or dies. I mean, what can we do? Yeah, but Jared has a plan.
Jared's a dangerous psychopath.
Jared, like his best friend Stephen Miller.
Not too sure who Stephen Miller is, but
Stephen Miller's the little Nazi-like guy that perpetuates racism and comes up with most of the ideas of how to manage immigrant camps and cages, and is probably responsible for the disappearance of over 100 kids from those facilities. Yeah. So we got that problem down there. We got fires burning like crazy in Oregon, Washington, and California. We got smoke going all the way to New York and Iceland and around the world. And when we were talking about New Mexico and how beautiful it is today, we have tons of problems in New Mexico. We have child care problems. We have employment opportunity problems. We've got economic problems, but fortunately we have a governor that knows how to manage the coronavirus pandemic problem, and we have a good healthcare system, and we don't have fires, we don't have floods, we don't have tornadoes and hurricanes, and we have a beautiful state and gorgeous sunsets. So we've got a lot of stuff going here. We're still breathing properly, and we're still alive, and we still have places to live.
We are very fortunate here compared to some places on the planet, and some of the dire predictions for the future, which I hope people will take to heart and try to work against. The whole environmental thing, though, it seems to have gone over the edge, a tipping point, as it were.
Well, I'm one of these optimists that think that the children and their technology and a miracle and spirituality and all that stuff together will get together and help save the planet for human habitation.
Oh, people will survive in some manner, shape, or form. There's no doubt of that.
Well, I'd rather be free to roam around than live in a bubble or a biosphere or an underground city or an orbital. But we probably won't get our act together to build and launch orbitals anytime soon. Even though some conspiracy theories think that there's a huge underground city under Denver International Airport, and that the ultra rich have means to launch themselves into space and survive, or something like that. And that might happen
like,
to some.
Like the movie Elysium, yeah.
Yeah. I know that was a little crazy. Yeah, I've never seen Jodie Foster be nastier. But anyway. Was that Elysium, or was that the one with Tom Cruise? Or they're the same thing? Tom Cruise is
I believe,
on the Earth and she's up in the orbital. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you had the space arcs at the end of what was it, 2012 and stuff like that. But yeah. Metaphorically, the wealthy could probably do something like that. I mean, if everything goes to hell and there's civil unrest and there's civil war and there's no government left, that the ultra rich are just going to take all the money they stole from us and go to their private islands or underground cities, and the rest of us can just suffer and die and burn.
Okay.
On that happy note, let's talk about more positive issues. Well, there's a lot going on in the world today, and it's weird. Other stuff goes on in the world. It's crazy the way the news is presented to us to some degree. You'd think that the only thing that was happening right now was fires in the pandemic, if that's not enough. But stuff is going on all around the world. I've heard rumors that there's fairly mass floodings in China.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and then you
stands to reason, though.
Yeah, and then you had the massive release of all those ducks in the rice paddies. I guess they tamped the field and the water down to make the crops grow better, or something like that. That's why they release millions of ducks out into the rice paddies, or something like that. I don't know.
How innovative.
I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on in Russia or Africa right now. And South America, I don't know. It seems a lot of this right wing and oligarchy stuff is like destroying more and more of the natural environment and rainforests and stuff like that. Speaking of being able to breathe,
right? Well, on an environmental front, we've got some information that comes to us from Pause on Fracking, Elena Chimino. She has quite the Facebook page, a lot of information about air and water pollution that's happening now. That really is one of the crux issues. All these fires, and you talked about South America and Africa. They're also having massive fires there, just like they did before, highly publicized the Australian fires. But now we're seeing fires in Brazil. We're seeing in California. We're flooding in the United States, flooding in China, as you mentioned earlier. But here in New Mexico, they've done something through the oil and gas industry, which apparently is not very well regulated in terms of environmental concerns. And what's happened recently is they've dumped a lot of radioactive salts from the water that's used for the fracking, and some 45 truckloads of this salt were dumped into the landfill in Rio Rancho, which is causing a potential, well, pretty much a guaranteed water quality issue down the road for New Mexico. And this is an ongoing situation with our water, where there's so much heavy industry in terms of the military and the oil and gas industry in New Mexico that we're seeing our water completely endangered. I mean, it's a disastrous situation that people need to be aware of. They need to be calling the environmental department and demanding some kind of cessation of these dumpings, lanol dumping, plutonium-laced gases, and all kind of, nuclear pit production in downtown Santa Fe. I mean, they want to build a campus there at they want to build a campus at the community college facility there, and I guess they're trying to attract more scientists to come and help them build nuclear weapons by doing it in downtown Santa Fe.
No, we don't need any more nuclear weapons. And we've got problems that you speak of all over the state. I mean, Four Corners with all their gas burning and fracking, and the Permian Basin down in the southeast. It's kind of interesting that we have one of our largest influxes of coronavirus cases right down in that southern section too, which might as well be called Little Texas. I mean, there is so much fracking and runoff down there, and then of course we've got WIP and what's that other company that wants Hobart or whatever?
Holtec Industries.
Holtec, yeah, that wants to bring in tons of nuclear waste from other states.
No, I think they're doing it. Yeah. They're not wanting to. They're going to do it. I don't know how the last regulatory commission meetings went. Activists are forcing a bit of public comment, but it's like what happened up in Santa Fe the other day, where the entire meeting for a environmental situation lasted 2 minutes. They just approved the plan, and that was the end of the meeting. No speaking about how the public might dislike these rulings that they're coming up with in terms of how the environment here can be managed. It's disastrous. They're not even thinking straight. They're fudging data to be able to justify their position. It's a dangerous situation because the air, the water, the soil, they're all being endangered.
I don't know. Yeah, and not to mention other little problems that we have around here, like 3 to 16 Superfund sites, the jet fuel spill, the medium to high level nuclear dump at Sandia Labs, and then the age-old problems of uranium and plutonium dumping in the Navajo Nation and Silver City and other places. Let's try to shift gears a little bit and talk about other stuff that's been going on.
Absolutely.
It seems like with all these environmental concerns and natural disasters and the 2 hurricanes before and the one that just hit, and we're run out of names and numbers and stuff like that, and there's still plenty of other hurricanes brewing. I saw, like, wherever it was, Ghana or far western Africa, looked like they were having a rainstorm or a monsoon to kill a planet that's probably starting to head across the Atlantic Ocean. With all these natural disasters and stuff going on right now, it seems like people are either hiding in their homes trying to breathe and stuff like that. I don't know how Oregon can continue its 100 days of protest. And anything that could be going on down in the south, they're probably too busy cleaning up after floods and trying to survive right now. But I guess the closer we We swore we were going to talk about November 3rd, but the closer we get to November 3rd, it seems like somebody in the
for
White
Trump
House.
vote. Let me just throw in a little
No,
something.
don't say that word. Don't say that word. No, that's a dirty word.
No, this is important. This goes out to all the Trump voters. Remember, vote for Trump on November 4th. Go to the polls to vote for Trump on November 4th.
And if you live in the South, vote twice. In North Carolina, send in your absentee ballots and then show up at the polls. But anyway, so Trump has this guy. We know this guy. He's been in politics forever. This Barr guy, the Attorney General, who's supposed to be like the top law enforcement or lawyer for the country, but is basically acting like Trump's PR guy and Trump's personal lawyer. And, they've sent the feds into to Portland and Operation Legend and different cities and all this stuff. And now there's the closer we get to this election, the more he wants, I guess the last leg he has to stand on is being the quote unquote law and order president or whatever. But, Trump's America is not Biden's America, because Trump's America is the shithole, and Biden is not president yet. But so they want to, call all protesters in general or whatever seditionists at this point. And I guess there's a little experiment or show of force that's going on in Aurora, Colorado right now. And some of the stuff, the kidnappings and stuff that happened in Portland and stuff like that. Can you, I know you've been following this a little bit. Can you update us on this?
Well, up in Aurora, the situation has got bad enough that now the police, as part of this this national campaign of charging these people with sedition and making it very scary for activists, under the Patriot Act and stuff. But now a half a dozen or so activists in Aurora have been arrested and charged with a litany of federal crimes.
He was killed. Elijah McCain, 6 people arrested. Yeah, this is a ways back. It was in June the 27th or something like that.
Yeah, the murder.
There's been a number of protests here. Okay.
But it was mitigated by the situation where not only did the police basically murder this guy, they posted they took photos of them with the body. They took photos and stuff of them, like being pretty ridiculous about it, posing over a trophy. They were just insane. I don't know if they were on drugs at the time or what was going on, but these cops, yeah. So a bunch of protests because of that, and the information came out. The police department had tried to suppress the whole thing. The news media tried to suppress the whole thing. But when those videos came out, the whole thing blew up. Now we're to the point where there's like a national agenda that activists in these environments where they've totally called out the powers to be. They've gone, look what you did, and they don't like being called out like that. Look what happened to Julian Assange. Look what's happening to him. I mean, he brought it to the people. He said, look, this is what your country is doing. And these activists did the same thing, and now just like Assange, they're in jail.
This is interesting. Yeah, so they've had a number of protests there. I guess the PSL and BLM are involved in this, and
all the people that were arrested in Arroyo, they're all PSL members. They're all
this attack on
activists.
The Denver anti-racist movement and PSL is part of a concentrated national assault on the Black Lives Matter movement, an attack driven directly from the White House, from governors' mansions and local police chiefs and departments around the country, said Sanchez, whoever this Sanchez person is. I'm reading this off Channel 9 News, which I think is out of Denver or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So and
but there's going to be a huge problem tomorrow when they all meet on the west steps of a federal courthouse up there in Denver. And there's a huge number of activists. I mean, the PSL is calling for everyone people that have never protested in their life to show up because,
Yeah. Well, even though locally, if you bring it locally, I've heard people talking about Democratic Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Tim Keller to some extent being in step with this national this federal edict, but that doesn't.
They don't have any choice.
They don't. Okay. That doesn't make sense to me because at least Keller said that we're an immigrant-friendly city and we're not in step with Operation Legend or the feds or whatever. And I don't know. And a lot of activists and protesters are saying well, they're in step with the feds whether they like it or not, and they're just as guilty and they need to reverse course and speak out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I know that, I don't know. Maybe people getting their kids back into school, maybe people trying to help their kids do online learning, people moving around into cheaper housing for fear of eviction, for the fact that they're not getting proper unemployment. They're not getting a secondary stimulus check and stuff like that. So a lot of people are scrambling around New Mexico, and like you indicated to me before, and I didn't really pick up on this right away, but I can see it. I mean, there's a lot of people from disasters and the economy and stuff like that are moving into Albuquerque and New Mexico because it's a little bit cheaper and a little bit safer to live. That's why a lot of people
it has a cachet of being a safe place, and it's no more safe than any other place.
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about nuclear waste and the landfill at Sandia Labs blowing up with the boric gas or whatever, and killing 3/4 of Albuquerque and stuff like that, it's probably not that safe. But as far as natural disasters are concerned, it's pretty safe.
Oh, and in the moment, and the environment will be constantly changing. But in the moment, New Mexico,
right.
it's fairly chill here. As long as you don't confront the police, you should be fine. You confront the police, you'll probably die.
I know, and I still can't get the Ken Reese videos out of my head. I mean, it was like a Gatling gun. It was like machine guns.
I can't watch those videos.
I know they never stopped firing, and the doorbell cam is completely different from the other two videos that they showed. And the first video looked like they spent 2 or 3 weeks manufacturing that, and it's very interesting.
For a real-time crime center.
Oh God! Fuck the real-time crime center. I'm not supposed to say that on the podcast, but fuck it. And now we have a new police chief here in town, Harold Medina, who has a very checkered past, and Chief Mike Dyer was let go very quickly and under fairly suspicious circumstances, and they've never really complied with a consent decree, and they just do what they want, and they're it's so hard to, a lot of people that listen to this podcast probably understand what defund and abolish means, but there's such scary words to other people that they can't handle it. It's like, there's so much corruption in our police department. It really needs to be disbanded and rebuilt, and needs to be rebuilt to serve the public and have them actually do their jobs rather than Oh God, it's so
Well,
frustrating.
they've been hiding all that information from the general population. Most people only understand what they're told to understand. If you
and
understand
and
that,
and, and yeah, and they they'll respond too late to a heavy duty thing that's happening at a protest, but they'll make way for all their cronies and proud boys and instigators and civil guard and stuff like that. I guess one of the last protests that we had here we had the BNMM. Arthur Bell and Tay and those people go up to Rio Rancho,
right?
and apparently they were, everybody was tipped off. It was partly a Republican political event. They brought a bunch of yahoos down from Espanola that were having a Trump rally, and Cowboys for Trump and all those people, and they were not very nice people at all. They didn't let anybody speak. They got into people's spaces. They wanted to fight, all sorts of things. So and I haven't really seen anything going on here lately. There were a number of protests for a while, but maybe people are scrambling and trying to survive right now. Fortunately, the Albuquerque Mutual Aid Group is still working, and they're pouring a lot of their energies in. I know, and they're feeding 50 to 100 families a day from SWAP. People economically devastated, people that are trying to survive during this pandemic. About Rio Rancho. I mean, I said this in one post in Facebook. It's like, briefly about my history. I came out here in 74 and 75 to go to college, but I'm from New Jersey, and then I went back home for a while. And when I was watching TV, all I saw back then, like in 76 and 77, were all these commercials from the AMREP Corporation, Horizon Development, come to New Mexico, come to Rio Rancho and have mountains in your backyard and rivers in your front yard. And that was, I know, all turned around and stuff like that. But it was like, they bombarded back east constantly forever, trying to get people to come out here and live in Rio Rancho. And a lot of people who came out here were scared little white people that were afraid of people of color and supposed violence and stuff like that, like they're trying to advertise right now, and even we used to joke back then, and it's kind of true. It's like most of the people that were in the witness protection program back east seem to end up in Rio Rancho, and there's a very kind of redneck New York, New Jersey type of attitude where it's kind of like, I know that's the funny thing about Portland and Oregon. Oregon was basically designed to be a white state, a white community, and they were very happy in setting up almost purely white community originally in Rio Rancho, and a lot of those attitudes and those and the plug-in to the Fox world and their little brainwashed dream bubble is
now in Rio Rancho we have second and third generation of that, people that have grown up there under that ideology. Their parents and their grandparents.
And it's like a bubble. It has nothing really to do with New Mexico at all. I mean, New Mexico is diverse. It's very rural, and in the cities, people are, struggle to cooperate no matter what the problem is. But Rio Rancho is just Rio Rancho. It's I don't know. It's a strange place.
I rarely go there.
Well, what is the thing from The Lion King? The meme where Mustafa is on the cliff with Simba, and and Simba goes, "Dad, what is that dark place over there?" And Mustafa says, "Son, that is Rio Rancho. Never go there."
Rancho Rio.
I know, and the West Side has its problems to a certain degree. Well, T.J. Trout, when he was on 94 Rock before he went totally right wing, used to call it the West Bank out there, and make a lot of fun about that. But I don't know. He's on right wing radio now with Eric Aragon and Dinah Vargas and Stella, and they're like 3 times worse than Rush Limbaugh and Hannity. Whatever.
They probably have great ratings in Rio Rancho.
No, of course. So whatever ideology is going on there, it has nothing to do with the real world. And I guess the occupant of the White House spends at least 3 hours a day watching that crap and believing that most of it's real.
Well, I read a thing the other day, just to interject. I read a thing the other day that seems to be very, very on point. And this is about how the right-wing people like the citizens of Rio Rancho, how they think. And the bottom line, I mean, this person went into this long explanation, but the bottom line of the whole thing was that it's an attack on liberalism. No matter what you say to people in Rio Rancho, as long as it's an attack on liberalism, they will take it to heart. It doesn't really matter what the issue is. Anything liberal, it's like liberals versus conservatives. They've dialed it down to that point, and it's just hate on the liberals.
Liberal is a dirty word. We're terrorists. We're communists. We're radicals. And
seditionists.
The radical new Green Deal. You know, it's like, oh, let's try to help the environment. No, that's radical. That's un-American. Or what did Rump or
clean water and air?
Yeah,
that's un-American.
They're against our type of energy. What is that? The Koch brothers. The more it pollutes, the more it is their type of energy. It's crazy, and that has nothing to do with global warming and climate change. And climate change has nothing to do with the fires and the super storms and nah. None of it's related because you can't trust science. I mean, science doesn't make any sense. You have to trust God and the religious right and the evangelicals. I mean, they know what's happening. We're not back in the 20s. We're back in we have a plague, so we're back in the Dark Ages, I guess.
Well, not quite as bad as 546 AD, but we're getting there. We just need like a volcanic eruption to cover the atmosphere in dust, and you know, then we'd be right back there.
Yeah. Apparently things are stirring up in Yellowstone. There's all sorts of very low-level earthquakes going on all over the place. And apparently if that blows, then we're all pretty much toast anyway.
Well, I think I've said this before. I think I've said this before. The guy from the USDA, he said that the Yellowstone event, probably at like 2500, the year 2534, yeah, then it would be very likely to explode. But any time before then, you're just going to see a lot of little activity that people are going to say, "Oh my God, it's going to explode." But he said that their studies indicate that it's not ready to explode until the 2500s.
Well, I'm going to back up just for a second and do a little commercial break, and then you are listening to, because I always forget to do this during our podcast, so I need to get in the habit.
Activist Community Podcast.
You are listening to Activist Community Podcast. This is, which episode is this? What are we up to, 20, 23 or something like that?
I believe this will be 27. Episode 27, yeah.
On September the 18th, 2020. This is your host, Tom Dent, talking to my engineer and cohort, Lloyd Thrap. And I'm going to do a little plug. We talked a little bit before about the Albuquerque Mutual Aid Group, and they have a new fundraiser up here, and they have all sorts of volunteers. They're kicking out tons of bags of food to needy families and people trying to survive right now. There's a new fundraiser going on right now. You can get to it online at GoFundMe. It's called the Albuquerque Mutual Aid Coronavirus Help. And I think they just started it this morning or yesterday, a new one. And they've raised close to $1,000 in about 48 hours. So, go to GoFundMe and punch in Albuquerque Mutual Aid Coronavirus Help. If you want to, and there's other ways. If you know the other link, I'm sure they're still taking donations there. But we've got to help out people, and that's another thing that I always wonder about.
It's important to donate your resources and to try to find other people who are able to donate resources in terms of supplies or money. I mean, this organization, this organization that's only 154 days old, is now feeding over 1,000 families a week. I've seen
it's up to that.
Yeah. And
it's terrible that it's come to this.
The food insecurity of people who are suffering from the economic problems caused by the lockdowns due to the virus, a huge amount of need. Last Tuesday of last week, I rode by on my bicycle the south lot of the University of New Mexico, there by the stadiums, and there were about 100 cars parked in the parking lot, and these people had been queued to get into the line to go through the Roadrunner food bank distribution. And there were at least 100 cars there, so that's 100 people right there on one day, trying to get a box of food. It's very important that we support these organizations.
Well, I've seen since the pandemic hit, I've seen lines in Texas and Florida and in other communities where they have thousands of people lined up for food distribution and stuff like that. And the economy's not getting any better. I mean, there's no real jobs for people out there, and like I said before, they're messing around with the unemployment weekly benefits. They're not coming out with another $1,200 stimulus yet or whatever, unless they're going to do it like, oh, here's a little October surprise. Here's your little pittance. Here's your cake and eat it too. To make Trump or that person look like he's actually doing something to benefit people. But I worry about that statewide.
Well, they talk about it, but nothing happens.
If not worldwide. I mean, are there people hitting the streets right now? Are these people getting mass evicted right now? Are these lines longer? How are they feeding everybody? How are they testing everybody? What's happening on the West Coast for these people? How are they relocated? Are they all in hotels that could have dangerous health conditions? Do they all have insurance? Are they going to be able to rebuild? A host of questions right now. I mean, if you want to look at sort of the worst case scenario, it seems like half of the country is sweating it really hard, and I wonder how people are actually surviving. I wonder if people are actually, there's a large number of people that are starving to death right now.
Well, I think that's a lot of the fear generated by these circumstances is a lot of the reason why the governments from mayors on up are looking at taking a hard line on law enforcement, because they know they've got some situations coming up that may be rather dicey.
Well, I think it's a little bit more dire than just, freaking out all the right-wing people going like, oh, you don't want these radical terrorist liberals taking over, so you need to get out with your guns at the polling places and intimidate people or whatever, I don't know. And
that
then
shouldn't
again,
happen.
we were talking about that weird little murderers row in the White House with Kushner and Miller. Then you have Betsy DeVos's little brother or whatever, the Prince of Darkness, Eric Prince and his mercenaries, and them helping, being part of the federale makeup along with ICE and Border Patrol people and little yahoos they deputize off the street and stuff like that. I mean,
none of that should be happening.
No, it's gross mismanagement. It's almost like it's all done on purpose. It's almost like this is all scripted. But you can't. Who was it? I saw some idiot the other day that said something like, once again, that this was pre-programmed out of Hunan or whatever, and apparently they traced the source to it, and it was like Steve Bannon, an old Breitbart sources. And speaking of that, people who are on the internet and stuff like that, I guess we've been warned a lot of Russian and Chinese interference and stuff like that, and all this misinformation that's going to come down between now and the election if it hasn't been there already. But I mean, come on, get some sense, pay attention to science. Have kindness in your heart. Help people out. Love. Take care of your fellow human. Don't fall for all this bullshit and fear that they're generating like mad now. Because it's, if what's his name only has Law and Order to ride on between now and November 4th for his followers, it's. They're just going to make matters worse, spread more misinformation, try to confuse you and scare the crap out of you. Don't pay attention to that. Keep an even keel. Talk to your friends. Talk to your neighbors. Get mobilized one way or another. If not for the election, this magical thing that happens every 4 years that we can't seem to get out of as far as making it work for the benefit of the people in general rather than the oligarchy. Take care of your communities, take care of your people, take care of your health, take care of yourself.
Well, and some people may not think they know how to do that because it's not something that they ever did before. But the thing that they can do is they can go to places like the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice, or they can go to the Southwest Organizing Project. They can go to the Mutual Aid Society, and they can find out how to, have a difference, have a positive impact during these times.
Mm-hmm.
Join your community, help other people.
That's one of the reasons why it's hard to get activists on the podcast lately. Not only are they scrambling for themselves, but they're doing a lot of work in a lot of different areas. I know that there's one group, Free Them All, that has been touring the prisons and advocating for clean conditions in the prison and release of non-violent offenders, release of Clifton White, who's still in jail, Michelle Lujan Grisham, and Cisco McSorley, wherever you are, and people unjustly in prison, people that are working in their neighborhoods, people that are working in the International District, South Valley, people that are working for mutual aid right now and harvesting their gardens.
Yeah, and I don't want people to at all feel powerless. I want them to know that there are organizations that can help them channel their energy in a positive fashion. I mean, they can contact us here at the Activist Community Podcast, and we will help route them to organizations that definitely need their support. Even if it's only symbolic, I think people should foster a future where we act as a community and we take care of each other. Because a lot of people are not prepared to take care of themselves, so we're going to have to take care of each other, and we can do that.
Well, don't give up hope whatsoever. I mean,
I wouldn't.
You got to reach out. You got to talk to other people. Even call the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice, like you said before. I know there's a lot of people that I talked to my friend Koa, who came in from Portland and a number of other cities where he's involved in fairly serious protests and stuff like that, and a lot of people that are activists here, that grassroots activists that are wary of the federal government and wary of nonprofits in general because they get some of their money from federal sources. Yeah, the Peace Center, Safe Street, Endorphin Power Station, other places like that. Other nonprofits are getting some federal money, but they're based in the community, and they're based to serve the community. Our new executive director at the Peace Center is really good about that. Really good about connecting with other sources, with resources, with fostering activities that are helping the homeless.
That's where our federal money should be going, to organizations like that.
Right, but I mean, and it's up to the community too. It's up to the community on how to steer these nonprofits to really help the community. And the Peace and Justice Center may have had its problems in the past, but I'm back on the coordinating committee or the board, and I've got together with Jim Harvey, who's an activist and organizer from a long time back, and we're very, very concerned with social justice and feeding the hood and taking care of the community, and that's the direction that the Peace Center is seriously moving forward in right now, and we're hurting too. I mean, we've got some new donors and stuff like that, but our last, we changed a lot of the administration last year, so our number one fundraiser, our holiday gala, did not make much money at all last year, even though 2 years ago we had tons of donations. And I'm coordinating the gala this year, and it's going to be totally different. And we're having our technical meeting on this Monday, and we're going to teach ourselves how to host films and Zoom broadcast and
yeah, we had a little test of that today.
Yeah, we tried to do that on Facebook, but like we said at the beginning, we had so much feedback and squeals and delays. But we have we may physically do a lot of it at the Peace and Justice Center on either December the 7th or the 12th. Depends on what day looks better. We may be feeding people out of our kitchen. We've got grants and donations, not federal grants, local grants, to get a new dishwasher and a larger refrigerator there. So, during our gala, we usually have a couple of bands, and the Raging Grannies sing their protest songs, and we have
we can record the grannies and have them.
We will. We're going to have Sally Alice Thompson is at her assisted living home. She's just been able to receive visitors through the plexiglass, but we'll get her up on the Zoom with the other Raging Grannies if we can, and have them sing their songs. We're looking for local bands that want to play on a Zoom or maybe social distance at the Peace Center where they can play and be filmed uploaded onto the internet and stuff like that. We have Mary Oishi, our Albuquerque poet laureate, has agreed to help us organize a poetry contest on social justice for the Peace Center. Liza Smith, who has run our little art gallery at the Peace Center, is going to coordinate entries sent in for JPEGs and photos of original art and crafts, with, of course, with a social justice and peace emphasis on it. And then, we'll be judging them. And if people want to contribute their arts and crafts to the silent auction, we've always had a silent auction that helped us raise a lot of money there. I will be auctioning off our Move to Amend's famous huge corporations are not people, money is not speech banner. That was designed and painted by Roadrunner, who was also known as Jay Evans, who passed away fairly recently, who was a huge supporter of Occupy and Unoccupy, and was one of Martin Chavez's greatest assistants on expanding our open space in Albuquerque, and he did a really good job. I know it's funny talking about somebody associated with local politics that actually knew what they were doing and did a really great job for the community, but he really did.
That's rare.
Yeah, so we'll be auctioning that off. If you know people that want to auction off valuable, semi-valuable items, things they want to get rid of. It's not a yard sale, but I mean, we're looking for quality things in our silent auction. And the way we did that at the gala in the past is we'd have a special room with all these items, and they'd be little sheets of paper, like you write down, I want to buy this for $20, and somebody would come along and say, no, I want to buy this for $50. But we can do an online silent auction on these items or whatever if we work out the details, and not only would you get a cool item, a cool gift or something like that, but you'd also be making a nice sizable well-invested donation to the Peace Center and the work that goes on there. We have over 60 different groups involved in different issues, and these are issues that serve the community. We have films, we have lectures, we have abolitionist seminars, we have chair yoga, we have nonviolent communication, which is now transformative communication. We're planning all sorts of outreaches into the cities. So please, and we'll get bands up if we have to, in little Zoom presentations, as you've probably seen. Some of these attempts where there's 4 or 5 musicians trying to synchronize together and stuff like that. Once again, I know there's a lot of musicians out there that are struggling. We can afford to pay you guys a little bit of a stipend if we select you to play at the gala. And like I said, at this point, since we usually, and here's another kind of sad thing. If you contact the Peace Center or you go to the International Day of Peace website, that's coming up on Monday. And we were, they usually have a big event. We had a block party last year. We had bands. We had a Medicine Drum Circle. And by the way, the Medicine Drum Circle is going to open up the ceremonies of the gala with a prayer and a drum performance. And we had a lot of different activities. I think we also went out on Johnson Field last year and made this huge human peace sign that was filmed from the scaffolding on Johnson Field. And and I think we have a few events going on online, but people have been scrambling, staying home and stuff like that. So there's nothing really going on physically. We wanted to do the thing with the Japanese lanterns, where we actually went on Johnson Field and social distanced at night and lit Japanese lanterns in a huge peace sign and let them float up into the atmosphere. But I don't think that's going to happen. But that's one of a lot of different possibilities and activities that happen through the Peace Center, and we associate are in contact with national and international peace and social justice activities. We have David Barsimian out of Colorado of Alternative Radio, who's been a longtime member. We have friends like Rivera's son and the Reverend John Deere. The president of our board of the coordinating council, Samia Assad, is in contact. She's a big mover and shaker with the Poor People's Campaign, and Reverend William Barber out of North Carolina. She is involved in the International Women's March. We work on international social issues, the border and the caged children, immigration issues, imperialism and American empire and how it messes up Central American countries in Africa, the Palestinian situation. Human rights, social justice, and we're very, very devoted to the local community. We always have been.
Well, it sounds like their Peace and Justice Center is involved in some great organizations, and it sounds like the gala actually is coming along quite well. That's a lot of good stuff coming up. Very entertaining.
Well, we need people be excited about this. We're going to try to put out advertisements in the Alibi or whatever that publication becomes. I guess it's in huge flux right now. If you guys didn't know about it out there, the Weekly Alibi is kind of folding, and there was one group that was trying to take over, and now there's even our group on Facebook, Rise NM, New Mexico, is trying to find a way to either take over that publication or form our own. There's been a couple of activists, lawyers, and other people that have expressed interest, and if not taking over the Alibi New City or coming up with a new community-based local publication. If it's not the Alibi, we may form our own. And as most activists and people out there, you've heard us on other podcasts say that with the powers that be have taken over a heck of a lot of the communication and voice in Albuquerque and New Mexico, and we need to find any way that we can express our real voice, our true voice for the community's needs and everything that we've been saying before, working together, creating a much better city, a much more livable city, a fair livable wage, new jobs. Well, and the last thing we said, on some of our podcasts is, we have an opportunity right now, just despite the fears and what's going on, to create an entirely new world out of this mess. I mean, people would freak out and say, oh, we've got all this realtor investment and all these people moving to New Mexico, and they can work out of their homes, but we're going to lose all our whatever it is, workhorse economy. Oil and gas accounts for 1/3 of New Mexico's economy. But if we were smart enough and use the technology, I mean, we have no matter what they do. I mean, we have great brains in Los Alamos, Sandia, UNM, Tech, all places all over the state where we can put our heads together and legalize marijuana for all. Start some hemp industries if that's feasible. We can power the United States with enough solar fields. I mean, we're smart enough to come up with enough new energy and technological developments to take care of ourselves, to bring the serious economy back to the state. Don't give up. Don't give up hope. Put our heads together and let's get to work, y'all.
I think New Mexico could be quite a force in the global scheme of things if we all came together and worked towards, some of these goals, and it could create jobs. It could do a lot of things, but we're not working together. That's the problem. We got everybody's off in their own little worlds, and trying to maintain some semblance of something that probably never existed in the first place. They're trying to maintain a fantasy, and we need to get to reality and work together.
And we've got all this divisiveness. We don't need political divisiveness. We don't need racial divisiveness. We need to stop this feudal economic divisiveness. We need to get together and make things better for everybody, especially our kids. I mean, they need to be alive, healthy, and have something to look forward to.
Think about the children.
Think about the children.
Well, it comes down to, everyone has rights. Everybody's all big right now about, well, it's my right to do this. It's my right to do that. Well, you also have an obligation to do what's right and to do what's right for the future. And poisoning the water and the air, and that's not good stuff for the future.
Think about the disabled. Think about the homeless. Think about the elderly. Think about the children.
Yeah, think about everyone except yourself.
Well, and where are we now? Where is everybody? I mean, if we wanted to be isolated and it's all about me, then that's where you are right now. You're on your damn couch. You're in your house. It's not smart to go out, but we've got all this stuff. We've got the podcast that we're trying to develop. We're trying to link up with other podcasters, start an internet radio station, start a street publication.
Do multimedia entertainment empire is what we're trying to create.
Well, we're smart enough, and we had the media facility here. I mean, we're mini Hollywood if we want to be.
Oh, if I had $2 trillion, this whole thing would be bigger than CNN ever was. People, could be amazing. Be the number one network for news and entertainment.
We can network everything, and the truth is an interesting subject, isn't it?
Well, that would be one of the first things we would do would be to try to foster a return to the truth. Because the odd thing about operating from a place of truth is that no matter what happens, it can always be resolved for the betterment of mankind. It might be a disastrous situation, but if we approach it from a place of the truth, we can always turn it around. When people are approaching things from misinformation and propaganda and lies and conspiracy theory and all those different things, it just makes things worse, because we're not talking about the issue, we're talking about the lie. I'm a big proponent of the truth. I love the truth because, again, if you come from a place of truth, it's all resolvable. We can learn from our mistakes, and we're going to make even more mistakes. But we can learn from those, and we can move forward.
Mm-hmm. We'll learn and apologize and be compassionate. I just thought of a great bumper sticker we could have for Activist Community Podcast, or just in general, which is Think, network, love.
Right. That would work. Even network and love,
Well, or think, network, love. Yeah, that's the beginning of my email address. But anyway, so I'm giving out personal information. But personally, thanks for sticking with us so long on this podcast, and get out there and make it happen. We can do it. Do not give up. Do not give up hope. Think, network, love. Look to the future. Connect with your neighbors. Connect with your friends. Connect with your community.
Well, go to one of the organizations that we mentioned earlier. like the Activist Community Podcast, Mutual Aid Center, Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. These organizations can do that for you. Don't feel like you've been left on your own. If you need assistance in terms of food, housing, whatever it is, contact one of these organizations, and there are people there that will do their utmost to help you in any way that's possible. And there are a lot of opportunities for help.
There's people on the Rise NM Facebook page. There's people on our podcast page that are working to help people with job searches and finding places to live. I mean, and even if you're a little scared to go out or whatever, these people that work with the Roadrunner Food Bank and Albuquerque Mutual Aid, they respect each other's spaces. They work to social distance. They make it happen. I know a lot of you, it's hard for you to get out and about, but if young people are listening to this, or if you hear young people, or or you're out there and you want to get physically motivated a little bit and are scared of the gym and stuff like that, you can go out there and connect with people, knock on doors, make sure your neighbor's okay, and make sure elderly is okay. You can go down to Mutual Aid and Roadrunner Food Bank and do the physical work, or you can call or stop by the Peace Center and see how you can get networked to the right resources.
All you have to do is have a willingness to help, and in doing so, you actually help yourself. It's a mutually beneficial environment when we all work together. When we're all divided, no one benefits; everyone suffers. But when we work together, it can all happen.
It's 4:00 tea time, and I've got to get going. But thanks for the chat, Lloyd, and thank you everybody for tuning in and sticking with us
Tom.
this long. Have a great weekend.
Yep.
Bye.